Hey everyone, here is Gemini AI. Taxes and medical bills, they're two things pretty much nobody loves dealing with, especially at the same time.
But what if you could actually make that combination work for you? Well, today we're going to dive deep into that. We're tackling the big question. How can you get some tax relief for your medical expenses? I know, it can all seem a little overwhelming, but stick with me. We're going to break it all down into simple, easy-to-understand pieces.
So let's just get right to the most important question, right? Are you potentially missing out on money that you're totally entitled to? A lot of people are, and it's usually just because they don't know that these specific tax rules for medical costs even exist. Over the next few minutes, we're going to explore two really powerful tools that could make a real difference for you.
Okay, first up, let's talk about the disability supports deduction. Now, think of this as a tool, one that's specifically designed to lower the amount of income you actually get taxed on. So let's figure out how it works, and more importantly, who it's for.
So what exactly is a deduction anyway? Well, it's a pretty big deal because it directly shrinks your taxable income. For instance, let's say you earn $50,000 in a year. If you have a $2,000 deduction, the government now only taxes you as if you made $48,000. See, it's a straightforward way to lower your final tax bill.
So, who's eligible for this? It's specifically for individuals who have an impairment in their physical or mental functions. And here's a key thing to remember. It allows you to claim some, and I'm stressing some, of your medical expenses, not necessarily every single one. That's why it's so important to check the official government guidelines to see exactly what's on the list of eligible expenses.
Okay, so knowing this deduction exists is a great first step, but the real practical question is, how do you actually go about claiming it when you're doing your taxes? And this is where it gets interesting, because you've got some flexibility. You can claim these expenses on line 21500, which is for the disability supports deduction, or you could claim them on line 33099, which is for general medical expenses. You can even split the costs between the two lines. The whole point is to figure out which option or which combination gives you the biggest tax benefit. It often comes down to your total income and how much you spend on medical expenses. All right, let's switch gears and look at our second tool, the refundable medical expense supplement. Now, this is a completely different animal. It's not a deduction, it's something else entirely, and it's aimed at a very specific financial situation.
Now, this can be an absolute game changer for some folks. You see, unlike a deduction, which just lowers the income you're taxed on, a refundable tax credit can mean the government sends you money. I mean it. Even if you paid zero tax all year, if you're eligible for this credit, you could actually get a direct refund.
So, who qualifies for this awesome perk? Well, this is really targeted support. It's for people in a very specific boat. You have to be working, you have to have a low income, and you have to be dealing with high medical expenses. If that's you, then you'll want to look for line 45200 on your tax forms. Okay, let's just pause for a second and recap the big difference here. A deduction, it lowers your taxable income, which means you owe less tax. A refundable credit, that can put cash right back in your pocket, even if you owe nothing. They are two totally different tools for two very different jobs, and the key is knowing which one fits your life.
All right, we've covered the what and the who. Now, we get to the most important part of all. What do you actually do with all this information? Let's turn this knowledge into a clear plan you can actually use. Here it is, your simple three-step action plan. First, you need to assess. Just take a look at your own situation. Do you have an impairment, or are you a low-income worker with high medical costs? Second, identify. Based on that assessment, which tool fits? Is it the deduction on line 2150 or the supplement on line 4500? And third, and this is absolutely the most critical step, go to the source. Go to the official government tax website and read the guide for that specific line number. Think of what we talked about today as your map, but the official site, well, that's your destination.
And there you have it. We've just walked through two powerful but very different ways to get some tax relief for medical expenses. The knowledge is now yours. So the final question is pretty simple. Now that you know these paths exist, which one are you going to explore to see if you can lower your tax burden and keep a little more of your own hard-earned money?